And we are live with episode 10 of Hot Take Express with Kent Chamberlain. As always, I'm your co-host, Kent Chamberlain. And let's see, not much has changed on the personal front for me since the last video, so let's just jump into it. Today's video is about a topic that shitlibs have used to wrongfully smear me in years past, but somehow it appears to be coming true, an actual red-brown alliance in our times, what history can tell us about such things, and what sorts of lines we should take towards them in these material conditions. First off, let me talk about what happened that prompted this. The CPI has established and maintained a pro-Uhuru, pro-Black Hammer, pro-Landback line for months now. This led to that now-deleted Medium article that destroyed the first incarnation of the CPI. So why I think that happened around the same time, and why I think someone in the Uhurus had a hand in it, is that black nationalism, like white nationalism, is a psyop. Agents are certainly embedded in the Uhurus that would have been able to discover personal information with which to smear Caleb. And indeed, other landback grifters near him, namely Dust James and Nick Maniaci, the Flame of Liberation, joined in the smear campaign. We, the radical Republicans, tried to warn Caleb and the CPI all about this in first private and then public channels, but we were rebuffed. After the Rage Against the War Machine rally on the 19th, the black nationalist Uhurus were present, but so were people mostly known for being white nationalists, now calling themselves the Patriotic Socialist Front, with their own booth even. This was a former member of actual Nazi Richard Spencer's org, as well as dissolute adulterer and wife-beater Matt Heimbach. Heimbach used to run an org called the Traditionalist Workers' Party that helped organize the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, until his sexual dissolution destroyed his org. Now, I also need to clarify another thing. I hate doing these things, but just if I don't, confusion will reign. I coined the term patriotic socialism. I did it on accident. It was used against me, but it's because they tried to use this against me, and I claimed the term, and that means I get to define the term. And this so-called Patriotic Socialist Front uses it without my consent. I would not be surprised one bit if these were deep state people, because the deep state uses Nazis, especially sexually predatory people as well, all the time in their ops, and so I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Matt Heimbach was a Fed. And if this was some kind of an op meant to destroy patriotic socialism, meant to destroy Marxism-Lincolnism. But yeah, the Pat Sock Front and the Uhurus took a very revealing photo together at the rally. In it, they looked comradely, as fellow fascists would, but inter-fascist contradictions were also evident. Pat Sock Front explained the Uhurus as a Back to Africa group on their Twitter. I know that's not what land back has historically meant. They want to carve their own ethno-state out of the USA, not go back to Africa. Go back to Africa is a demeaning and racist trope. So either the Pat Sock Front is lying about the Uhurus' policy, or Uhurus are lying about their own policy. Which is it? I don't know. I don't speak Nazi. Now, what's the proper attitude towards these developments? It's not necessarily wrong for commies to work with fash. It's happened before, and it will undoubtedly have to happen again at some point. In World War II, you have the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, where the foreign ministers of Hitler and Stalin signed a deal, and during the early parts of World War II, Stalin made money hand over fist exporting stuff to Hitler. But it was the only pact signed with Hitler that strengthened the guy signing the pact with Hitler as opposed to Hitler. All the liberal Western pacts with Hitler strengthened Hitler, but Stalin's pact with Hitler strengthened Stalin. So it was a bit of cold-blooded realpolitik, but it's helped save the world. And then, speaking of go back to Africa, Lincoln, unfortunately, but probably necessarily given the material conditions of his day, ran the first time on send them back to Africa. But then Frederick Douglass pounded the correct line of multiracial American citizenship into his head. Um, Lincoln was a good dude. He meant well, but like he was just raised with some unfortunate notions of his time and place. Like much of the working class, because remember he came from the working class. He became a lawyer, which is bourgeois, but he came from the working class, and so he had these ideas that are common in the workers of his day in his head. But then like just talking with a sensible guy like Frederick Douglass said, because he was a good-natured dude, that changed his mind. He was open to persuasion, and he decided the send them back to Africa crap was basically racist and unworthy of our democracy, and that blacks had earned through their sweat and toil and suffering of centuries the right to be here and to be fellow citizens. And Frederick Douglass was right, and like we should be all proud of that moment that changed the GOP and American politics forever. Now, it took the Democrats a much longer time to reconcile themselves to that notion, and now they're acting like it was their idea all along, but we've been there for a while, and they haven't. But yeah, let's see. Another time that commies worked with fash was when Lenin recruited Bolshevik cadre from the proto-fascist Black Hundreds. So there was this like pro-Tsar, pro Eastern Orthodoxy group called the Black Hundreds in Tsarist times that would just like basically go around, round up the Jews and shoot them or do terrible things to them. And like these were people that could generously be described with the liberal epithet problematic. But thing is, they were also effective political actors that could get stuff done in their areas. So once there was no longer a czar to uphold, it was better for these people to be working for the Bolsheviks and under their command than to be working against the Bolsheviks and the actually anti-Semitic white army that would have purged and killed all the Jews they ran across. So yeah, it was just a question of lesser evil. Basically, anytime you make a pact with the fash, it's always a question of lesser evil. Does it actually advance the cause of anti-imperialism to make this pact? And sometimes the answer is yes. So I can't condemn the CPI outright for the concept of it, but so many buts. The most important question to ask in these material conditions of American bourgeois democracy is, have they repented from their fascist views and behavior? We, like most Americans, oppose cancel culture and believe in second chances for those who honestly repent. So, if like Matt Heimbach found him some Jesus and has changed as a person, I want to respect that. Like, I want to give him a second chance if he's done something to earn it or anything like that, or if he's come out and repudiated his previous beliefs. Doesn't necessarily have to be religious, but like something that would have like kind of changed his life trajectory from where it was. I want to see that. Like if I do see that, I am willing to give him a second chance. Like even someone like him, God works in mysterious ways. I never circumscribe the power of forgiveness. But yeah, but the thing is, you got to be real careful with literal Nazis, though, because like even if Soros wields Antifa like a club, actual fascism is something America rightfully helped put in the ground, and it still must be opposed. And indeed, modern Antifa itself is fascist too, and I oppose it on those grounds. on grounds of anti-fascism. But yeah, just because Soros is like got this psyop, that's also like the Democrat Party's thug army, doesn't mean that like the concept of anti-fascism is illegitimate. Because yeah, another thing about this is that besides fascist views, discreditable personal behavior also matters. Like, I mean, you could be the most anti-imperialist person, but if you are like an actual convicted pedophile, like, I don't want to know you. I don't want to organize with you. I don't want to forgive you. Like, you just put yourself beyond the pale of any community or most Americans would want to be a part of, honestly. So like, there are limits. There are limits to this. But like, what happens between consenting adults is constitutionally protected and not the focus of our judgment. So nothing about that is like why I'm concerned. But like, nothing about like, say, what some people have done, which was completely between consensual adults. But like, there is a limit with degeneracy or with dissolution. Because like, and I feel like beating up your wife because she found out you're a cheater is probably that limit. Like, I think you really need to come to Jesus moment, or come to Allah or Buddha or whatever. Like, I don't care. Just you need to you need to get your life in order, and you need to do so publicly, and like before you expect anyone to even like trust you again, I think. But yeah, like, so the question is like, is Heimbach and the other guy, are they? Oh, actually, I shouldn't say the other guy because I don't know what the other guy, if the other guy's done anything like this. But yeah, is Heimbach still the kind of person that would do that? Is there a therapist or is there a religious clergy willing to go on the record saying so? He shouldn't lead anything regardless. But if it's not the case that there's not anyone willing to testify for his character now, he shouldn't even be in the room with us, honestly. Like, because American voters care about ethics, as do the politicians who win their votes. That is our business as a political organization in this country, is winning elections. And it's not doing rallies, it's not, like being the biggest kids in the protest cage, it's winning elections. And so like, anything we say or do that like gets us in with the cool kids of the protest cage but doesn't win us elections is pointless. And so we have to be like absolutely ruthless about what winning means in these material conditions. Another important question is, are they functionally, as opposed to aesthetically, anti-imperialist? The Uhurus and the Patriotic Socialist Front were both at the Rage Against the War Machine rally, yes. I will admit that. They were, but they were also both used as solid reasons to discredit the rally to different people. The Uhurus, because they're Landbackeroos that want to destroy America, and the Patsock Front, because they're hopefully former Nazis that have like tried to destroy what America means to most people in the past. Average American workers do not want to turn America into ethno-states. They don't want to deport blacks to Africa. They don't want to deport whites to Europe, or just more generally pal around with actual bigots. Like, they don't want that. They don't want to vote for anyone adjacent to that. It turns their stomach. If the only reason they might turn to that is if the other guys were somehow way worse, but that's still just not something you want to touch. And if racial nationalists of any sort are the face of anti-imperialism, then average American workers will be leery of it. And those are the people that have to be convinced in order for it to work, not these fringe movement people. Therefore, the most anti-imperialist position possible is to, while upholding rallies they latch themselves onto, like the Nazi barnacles they are, denounce these racial nationalists as fervently as possible, as the fakers and fash they are, expose their role in functionally upholding imperialism by discrediting its opposition by their presence, and demonstrate a principled stand that rejects both fascism and imperialism, which are truly the same thing, as Lenin demonstrated. Um, so, in closing, look, Caleb's found a way to be popular with the synthetic left and prioritizes being the coolest kid in the protest cage these days. It's against everything he stands for, but he's certainly been acting differently since, everything went down. And like Jax, like Haas, I just gotta say, so be it. Good luck. I don't really think there's any sort of capacity to work together at this point. But insofar as you're throwing anti-war protests, cool, that's better than your conference stuff. But thing is, what my org's going to do though is go lower and deeper to the real masses, the anti-imperialist majority that didn't show up in DC because they had jobs, because they had not the money to travel. We'll spend our resources alleviating their poverty, draining the reserve army of labor in their areas so that they can get their something closer to proper pay when they labor. We'll do that because that's good praxis, and that's good praxis that was demonstrated to us by none other than fellow comrades in arms, the Black Panthers, who fed the kids of Oakland so well that Richard Nixon invented WIC about it. And we'll do that because and the Black Panthers, yeah, they were so cool. They were like this Black revolutionary org, but they did not discriminate. They were not bigots. They were open to this concept of shared multiracial American citizenship. And I think that's a vision we need to follow in this day. It's a patriotic vision. It's a socialist vision. And that's what patriotic socialism means, not this ethno-state crap. But yeah, let's do that instead of let's go lower and deeper to the real masses and meet their needs and win their trust that way by taking care of their actual concerns, instead of throwing bigot appreciation bashes like George Lincoln Rockwell's Nazis did with Malcolm X. Like, we don't need any American Nazi Party, Nation of Islam, Lovins, Redux. Like, that picture just disgusted me in ways I can't even really put into words. And it's sad to see certain comrades go down this road and basically live out the caricature that the synthetic left has always painted of us. But I can't help that. And all I can do is double down, triple down, quadruple down on what we are doing in the Radical Republicans. And, the work is slow and hard, but everything we're doing matters. And everything we're doing is building on stuff that came before. We are actually, Caleb talks about city building. We're actually building a city in Tobar. When we're building it with our own hands, we're not hiring people to do it. We are building it ourselves. And we want to spread this praxis into other people's communities. We want to collectivize as much of the economy as possible. It starts small, but it can snowball real quick. History tells us that. And I think, given the way that American politics has become so corrupted, it's the only way we're going to beat the power of big pharma and big oil and big this and big that is the power of big collective. We gotta collectivize, and that means getting off our asses and building socialism ourselves, not waiting for the government to do it for us. So anyway, and that is going to require a cross-racial working class coalition, and that means we can't listen to phonies like these racial nationalists trying to divide us. And what for? Who? Only people that benefit from that division is them, and that's why they can pal around with each other while they're still telling us to hate each other. It's madness. So anyway, that's the position of the radical Republicans, and that's the position of me. And now you know, and knowing is half the battle. Hot Take Express.